Hola, ¿cómo estás? Tudo bem? Konnichiwa. Hello. What it do? Welcome to another episode of the J Boy Sports Podcast. And for today, we're going to do something slightly different than what I normally do because we're basically going to dissect an article. There is no actual audio that I've seen to this, but there is a transcript for a written interview. And normally, I guess I wouldn't be doing this as much, but because it's Michael Wilbon who was the person being interviewed, I think it's extremely important. Michael Wilbon is a very important figure in the sports analyst world. He's been around for a long time. He's seen the changes, he's seen the ups, he's seen the downs, and he's very well respected by everyone. And so when he talks, people are going to listen. Now, recently, he's had some things to say about players, most notably about LeBron James and some of the antics that have, in Michael Wilbon's mind, gotten a little bit out of control. So I wanted to go through this article, and essentially, they're actually exclusively and for the first time, a guy named Bobby Burak, who's with Outkick, who's one of the major outlets as far as sports media. He's going to do an interview with Mike Wilbon about LeBron's recent criticisms of the media, ESPN, and Wilbon's colleagues like Stephen A. Smith and Brian Windhorst. So I'm going to read bits and pieces, and then we'll sit back and we'll discuss it. So the first part here says, Michael Wilbon says, "I appreciate you reaching out to me, Bobby, and tackling this story responsibly. I don't know. The first question he asked was, Michael, why now? Why is LeBron James, for the first time in his 22-year career, choosing to fight with the media?" And back to what I was saying, I don't know. I haven't talked to LeBron about it. I haven't been around him this year, not yet, but I'd love to talk to him about it, and I will the next time I see him. I've been doing this for 45 years, talking to athletes in every sport. I don't come from the ESPN generation of covering only one sport. I covered everyone from Mike Tyson to Carl Lewis to Chris Evert, from Michael Jordan to LeBron James, from Kobe Bryant to Cal Ripken. And LeBron is as good as anyone ever. I've covered them all, Magic, Bird, and no one is better than LeBron when it comes to being engaging and patient with the media. Nobody. So I don't know where all of this is coming from. I'm telling you, Bobby, no one has ever been better with the media than LeBron. He actually answers your question. He listens. He is thoroughly engaged when he talks to you or gives you time. I almost want to give him a pass because it's just a week in his 20-year career. He has earned it, at least to me. Some athletes are buttholes and haven't earned the right to be buttholes. But I still don't understand this recent approach by LeBron. I don't get it. It annoys me because some of these things are beneath him. So that's like the first part there, and I'm just going to break it down piece by piece, I guess, based on each question. And with the first question, I have to say, overall, I don't agree with anything Mike Wilbon said here, and that's okay because he's a different person. I'm not disrespecting him. I just don't agree. I've seen him cover some of the other people. I've seen stuff about Michael Jordan. I've seen stuff about Kobe Bryant. And I recently, like I said, saw him go off on LeBron James for not being more like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. So I don't know why he's saying, and Magic and Bird, and he's saying like nobody's better at engaging with the media and answering questions than LeBron. And I don't. I guess it depends on how you want to do it. Like, if you want to say he answers the questions, I don't think he answers any tough questions, personally. I think that when I listen to LeBron James talk, he says things that he doesn't actually feel. He seems like he's always lying to me. Like, he seems like he's saying things that you maybe want to hear or that he feels like getting off. But nothing really that is, like, just straight, genuine from the heart. Like, I'm saying this because I truly feel this straight up and down. And other people have accused him of this outside of the sports world because they all seem to be a little bit too afraid to say the truth. But, I mean, I'm just going to say it. When I listen to Magic Johnson talk, Magic is always pleasant. So sometimes I feel like Magic is too pleasant, except for recently he got on Ant Edwards and was pretty intense on him. But usually Magic's very nice. Bird is kind of nonchalant-ish. He doesn't really give you a lot of sound bites. When Michael Jordan talked, I mean, you got something out of it. I've never listened to something Mike said and was like, that's dumb. Like, he has an interesting outlook on things, and that also leads to his success. And when Kobe Bryant talked, I mean, I'm obviously I'm a big time Kobe Bryant guy. That's my guy. And when he talked, I listened. But it's not because I was a fan. It was because he literally said excellent things. And I'm not alone in that either, because there's a lot of people that Kobe Bryant inspired, even outside of his own sport, that, just loved his messages. I'm a huge Philadelphia Eagle fan. Do you know how many players in the Philadelphia Eagles quote things from Kobe Bryant? Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts are two of the best players in the world in football. And they both are big-time Kobe Bryant supporters. They literally take a lot of the things from Kobe Bryant. The whole Eagles organization does. I believe he came and talked to them before they won their first Super Bowl in, I think, what was that, 2017? Was that 2017? I think that was 2017. Let me just double-check that. Eagles Super Bowl wins. I think it was. Let me see. Yep, it was 2017. Yeah. So, they've always and Kobe's from Philly, so naturally that's the city's going to gravitate to him. Except that one time in the All-Star game. But he said, I don't. He said he feels like LeBron earned it. Again, I agree to disagree. I don't think he has. I don't trust LeBron personally, but that's just me. You can. I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying you have to. And he's saying he doesn't understand the reach and approach by LeBron James. And it annoys me because it's beneath him. The thing I don't like about Mike Wilbon is, as we're reading this article, you'll see, I truly believe that he thinks that certain people are not worth his time. And he's kind of going to hint at that, and I don't like it because he is like a world-renowned journalist, and I get it. But I don't look at Mike Wilbon and say, my goodness, I can never be like him, and I can never talk like him. And that's not true. He just had an opportunity on ESPN, and he works hard. I'll give him that. But he's not above me because he has a job at ESPN. It's not always that the greatest players are the ones that make it to the league. Likewise, the greatest journalists aren't always the people that make it to ESPN. And, you get, as a person, now we have the ability to talk on social media. You can start your own channel. And if you're good, people will come. Now, you can be the clickbaity types, or you can have some substance to you. And the substance people will always have clients because they're building substance. And I think Mike Wilbon doesn't understand that. He thinks that people like myself are just a joke on the internet. We don't have any real clout. And he thinks somebody like LeBron is above us and we're beneath him. And I'll never agree to that. There is no man on this planet that is above me that's ever lived, other than, in my opinion, Jesus Christ. Outside of him, and maybe Adam, because he was perfect as well, but outside of those two, there's no man that I'm beneath. I have my thoughts and ideas as well, and I can put great ideas together given time. So, man, we're already at like 9 minutes. This is going by very slow. So let's continue to the next part. We might have to break this up because this might be a long one. We'll see. So after he said that, he said, I think LeBron's doing things beneath him. Burek, the guy interviewing him, says, which parts? He answers, the Windhorse comments that he pretends to be LeBron's best friend and is weird. I've been around LeBron when people have asked him about something that happened 2 decades ago in Ohio, and he would respond by saying, I don't even remember that. Ask Wendy. Wendy will know. That tells me he has a respect for Windhorse that is undeniable. I know he respects Windhorse. So why say this now? And I'm just going to... He didn't finish answering this question, but I just want to stop for a second because that baffles me as well. And I'm going to do a video about that at some point. But this is why I don't understand why Wilbon will say this and then say LeBron has earned respect. LeBron's a liar, man. And I know that's not what this video is about, but come on, man. You just saw the hypocritical nature of what he said. For him to call him, he's like my best friend and weird. You literally just said that he would ask Wendy to say if he remembers it, because he'll know. And now you're still trying to give LeBron the benefit of the doubt. And that's where I have a problem, even with people like Mike Wilbon. Because Mike's been spazzing out a little bit on LeBron, like I said. But where were you? Where have you been this whole time, Michael? Where have you been? What have you been watching? This is a more vocal thing from LeBron, but he's been doing passive-aggressive antics like this the entire time. And even here, you see the hypocritical nature of what he just said. And it seems like you're still trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't do such things. I wouldn't do such things. If one of my friends, and I caught him doing some nonsense like this, I would ask him. If I didn't like the answer, I'd be like, you know what, maybe we're done. Because you're obviously tripping. Continuing, as for his issues with Stephen A., he and Stephen are both big boys. They can go at it. I refuse to even consume their beef. People are calling me and asking me about it. My son asked me about it. I told him I didn't care. There's too much ego involved on both sides of it. I don't give a dang about the BS. But the Windhorse comments bother me. Brian is in a tough spot. He takes this job seriously. Brian is accountable, which a lot of people in the business today are not. And that makes me mad. Look, Brian is not a show monkey. He is not out here drawing attention to himself with some ego or agenda. Brian Windhorse is great at what he does. Great, Bobby. And I will vouch for him anytime against anyone. And if I were talking to LeBron right now, I'd say that to his face. Yeah, but you just congratulated LeBron doing this whole show and pony show when you know if you have this much respect for Wendy and LeBron just took a dump on him for no reason, then, you know, I don't understand your approach here, Mr. Wilbon. And I say Mr. Wilbon because I do have a lot of respect for this man. He deserves that. That's true. And so the next question that he asked him is, LeBron thinks the media has covered him unfairly compared to past athletes of his status. Is that true? Wilbon says, LeBron is praised. I am one of the people covering him. I've covered him for 20 years, and he deserves the praise because he is great. He has been great from day one. But here's what annoys me, and I have heard this from players like Kevin Durant lately. They say the previous generation of players were not criticized like they are. Forget that. They better wake the heck up. Timeout. Why are you mentioning Durant? LeBron James just had a whole thing on that same podcast where you said he mentioned Wendy in a negative light, where he said that, you know, Giannis would score 250 points. And we actually know that, listening to that, LeBron was really talking about himself. He wasn't actually talking about Giannis. He used Giannis to sound less cocky if he used himself, but he really believes he would have scored 250 points back then. I'll say this, if they took Kobe Bryant with you back then, you wouldn't, because he put the clamps on you, buddy. But just continuing here, I don't know why Mike Wilbon went to Kevin Durant when we're talking about LeBron James, and LeBron James just recently said some ridiculous stuff about the past. Again, this is what I don't understand about people like Wilbon. You're jumping around to not look like you're criticizing LeBron. Criticize him. You know, great from day one, all this stuff. Well, he's been very good to great on the basketball court, I'll agree. But like I said, you're jumping to Kevin Durant. Yes, Kevin Durant said that. That is true. But this interview is about LeBron. You just let LeBron off the hook when you should have took a shot at it. Well, not a shot, but you should have been honest about what he just said as well. Continuing, I don't think Michael Jordan was criticized for going to Atlantic City during the Knicks series. Really? They don't think Jordan was criticized for playing golf during the playoffs? Really? They don't think Wilt was criticized? I have said this to these players privately and will say it publicly. Everyone gets criticized. They are just too young to know what the heck they're talking about. But maybe I'm just old. No, you're not old, Mr. Wilbon. These guys are soft. And they want easy victories. That's why they join super teams and team up with each other and play footsies instead of actually going out there and trying to win and be successful. And you mentioned Kevin Durant. The Suns are in absolute turmoil. They look like a daggone dumpster fire. They look like a baby's diaper that hasn't been changed in 3 days. They smell worse than that diaper. They're terrible. All this super teaming up and jumping around, what has it done? What does it do? It's destroyed parts of the league, and it's good to see the young guys seem to be starting to squat up again and say, I'm sticking with my team, my day ones. I'm not jumping up with you guys. And I love to see that from these younger teams. You look at the Thunder, you look at the Cavs, you look at the Rockets, you look at the Celtics, you look at the up-and-coming Pistons. You even look at the Pacers. They got their own little thing going over there, even though I'm not a big Halliburton fan. But, they look like they're rejecting that, and you love to see it. We just need a few of these older guys to get out the league, and then maybe we can have real competition again. But that's neither here nor there. Everybody does deserve to be criticized, Mr. Wilbon, including LeBron James. And LeBron has been overly praised, in my opinion. So much so that he's gotten overly cocky, and everything bothers him. So there's that. Moving forward here, he asked him next, how much of a role has social media played in athletes today worrying too much about criticism? And he says too much, too dang much. They pay too much attention to it. They are on it too much. If you can't handle it, get off of it. I'm off of it. I think I still have 4.5 million followers on Twitter, but I don't use it. It wasn't for me, anyway. I realized I didn't want to consume the crap. I'm too old for that. Everything is distorted. There's too much glorification. There's too much criticism. There's too much everything. It's an exercise in excess. I'm not a child of this era. I am a child of the mainstream media. There is no accountability in this world. I had to be accountable to the bosses and editors. These people on the internet don't. I have to be accountable to the athletes I cover today. If I say something cockeyed about LeBron or Kevin Durant, or going back to John Elway or Emmitt Smith, they had and have to have every right to come up to me and say, well, what the heck did you say about me? And then we would have to sit there and talk it out. That's how it should be. So I agree and disagree with him a little bit here. There is a side to the internet where people talk crazy, man, and I see it all the time. If I say something about a player and it's a player that they love, even if it's true, they instantly say crazy stuff. They may look at your profile pic and try to see if they can pick holes at that. They don't stay on topic, and they just want to be mean and hurtful immediately. Now, listen, if you say something to me that I think is ridiculous, I don't have no problem returning that energy. I'll give you the same vibes that you give me. But I don't look to do that. I don't seek to do that. In my normal daily life, I actually get along with a lot of different types of people. But there is a disgusting dumpster fire, dirty diaper nature to the internet that I agree with him there. However, I also, a part of me also is a little skeptical of people like Wilbon with this, and it's not because he's a bad person, but because he's put so much time in the industry, he feels like he's at the top of it, which he is, technically. But again, this is a new age. His voice is not the only one that matters. His perspective is not the only one that matters. And I do feel like guys as accomplished as him feel like they have the right to have most of the speech. And I can understand why they feel that way, but I'm not going to give them that level of credit. Because it's people like you, Mr. Wilbon, that have allowed these players like LeBron, like Kevin Durant, to get out of control. Because you were too busy kissing their butts instead of telling them that, hey, you joining a super team is whack. That's corny. If you're so good, why do you need to have the best players on your team to win? That doesn't make you the best player. But I never heard that from Mike Wilbon. Did you? And now he's sitting here telling us that, some of these players are out of control. Well, you had an opportunity to say something. Like I'm saying something now. If I had a YouTube channel before this, I would have been saying how much I hated it. I hated the Miami Heat back in 2000 and what year was that? 2011? when they got together, I hated them back then because I thought it was ridiculous. And I thought it was cheapening the game. Where were you, Mr. Wilbon? Where were you and your accomplished analyst friends that were at the top of the game, that are still at the top of the game? This also happened on y'all's watch. Just being honest, sir, and I'm trying to be respectful, but I'm just saying. Continuing. Oh, and he said one more part. People on social media just talk. That's it. They talk and face no accountability. I hate it. So everything I just said, throw that in there with that. Okay. Next question. There's no question. And people are worried too much about fitting in with what's trendy on social media. Maybe that's why people in the business don't like me. And that's the guy saying that. And Wilbon responds by saying, I hate all this. It's too much. I want to sit down with all these athletes and discuss all of this. LeBron is too important. He has too much credibility, which he earned, and stature, which he earned, to worry about what is said about him. Same with Steph Curry. Their voices matter. They matter to me. They matter to young kids. LeBron James's voice never mattered to me, personally. Again, compare him speaking to Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Some people don't like these guys, but even if I'm listening to John Stockton, or I know Karl Malone has some shady things go on, but even listening to him, like, there's more, they sound more normal to me than listening to LeBron. I don't trust the words that come out of LeBron James's mouth. I don't believe that he's actually saying things that he 100% feels. In fact, I don't know what he actually feels. I feel like he just says what he thinks people want to hear. And then every once in a while, like recently, he's so mad that people won't let him be the king of the world and do whatever he wants with his son and the Lakers, that he's actually starting to say a few things that he actually believes. But he's always going to be passive aggressive. He's always been passive aggressive. So I don't really know what Mr. Wilbon is talking about. Saying LeBron James is too important. To who? I'm never telling my kid to listen to him and model after his passive aggressive behavior and his weird pettiness. Right? I'm not modeling my son after that. I wouldn't want my son to be modeled after that. And he said he earned it. What has LeBron James earned? He hasn't even earned his championships, in my opinion. He ran the super teams because he was afraid of Kobe Bryant. And we'll do a video on that at some point. But he's just running over the super teams because he couldn't earn it the way other people did. So what has he earned? He can't surpass Michael Jordan in rings, or Kobe Bryant in rings, or Kareem, or Magic. He can't unlose to have less losses, or Duncan, excuse me. He can't unlose to have less losses than those guys. You know? So what has he done? He's decided to take parts of the media and pay parts of them to be obsessed with him and to push his agendas and to make stats more important than actually winning and to make it so that criticism is unacceptable. So I don't know what he's earned from what I've seen. And people might be saying, oh, you're being critical of LeBron. Find me where the place where I just lied. Where did I just lie? I'm being honest. I'm giving you some facts here. So him saying that, I wouldn't want LeBron. Also, LeBron's ruined the league, man. The league. If he's the face of the league, him, Steph, and I guess you throw in KD. But if you put LeBron at the top, because he's the one that wants to be the mob boss. Steph is a lot more likable because he doesn't play these petty, childish, passive-aggressive games. KD is sometimes like this, sometimes not. Depends on who you talk to. But LeBron is the most polarizing because he wants to be. He wanted to dominate in that way. More so than any athlete I've ever seen. So he's more a part of the ruining of the NBA, in my opinion. Everything we see where there's a problem today, a lot of it has to do with him. Him working with Adam Silver. And I guess you could say, for me, Adam Silver is the most person that should be blamed, but LeBron has something to do with that as well. So again, I don't know why Mike Wilbon is saying these things. And it's partly because he'll say to you, I have to face this man and say these things. I don't care. Give me a pass for the day. Give me an interview with LeBron. I'll say all these things to his face. I have no problem doing that. I have a bunch of questions I'd love for him to ask. And I will push back on each one of them if I don't like the answer. And going back to Mr. Wilbon, I've never seen him do that. So while I do hold him in high regard because he's been doing it for a long time, and he does have some clout there, I've never been satisfied with the questions that he asked. I've always felt like he could go deeper. So, I'll keep it there for now. Let's move on. He says that Burek, the guy interviewing, he said, it feels like a WWE feud. That's probably why people are so interested. Wilbon says, yes, exactly. That's a great way to look at it. Enough. Both of them. And look, I am a father too. Let me let you in on some inside baseball, Bobby. And you probably know this, but PTI did not talk about Bronny. We never did. All the Bronny talk that was on our network did was pandering. It was for clicks and eyeballs, and I refused to participate. You can go back and look. PTI never did cover him, except for maybe the Real News, like the day after he was drafted. Those other shows, it was every day. Bronny, Bronny, Bronny. What the heck is this? It was a disaster waiting to happen. I have a 17-year-old son, so this matters to me. I am particularly sensitive to it. I'd do anything for my kid, and I would hug LeBron for what he did for his kid. I'm going to stop you right there, Mr. Wilbon. Not cool with what you just said personally. So basically what you're just saying is that you would employ nepotism on whatever level you can as well for your 17-year-old son. And the question I have for people that like to do stuff like that, so when does your son get to be the man that you are? And that's how I feel about that. There's another guy on here, and I have to get his name. I thought his name was Legend of Winning, but it looks like he has a new channel by himself. And I watched a couple of his videos recently, and I do like his takes overall. But he also said something about nepotism. And in this particular case, he had mentioned how nepotism historically has hurt black people tremendously because we have not had the same ownership of things that other people do. And now he said, and that's why he's so against it, because it hurt us. And now we're seeing LeBron employ it to hurt other black people, because most of the NBA is made up of black men. And he used it to hurt other people. He used it to help himself and help his son and help his family, but they're already rich. He definitely stopped somebody who didn't have it from getting it. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to agree with that or not. And now Mr. Wilbon is also saying that, yeah, I'd give him a hug for it, for what he did for his kid. So you'd give him a hug for manipulating the draft and forcing a kid that wasn't ready into the NBA, who's still not ready for the NBA, who's needs to really be in the G League. But I'm not going to say Bronny doesn't deserve at all to be in the league. But what I would like is I would have liked for Bronny to earn it. Even if LeBron gave him a little help to get him directly on your team and force him out of college, all this stuff is weird. Kendrick Perkins even mentioned something about how he was an All-American at age 14 is nonsense, because we just seen Kyan Anthony, who from when I watch is way better than Bronny James, not make the McDonald's All-American team, even though he was like the best player in New York City, supposedly, or something like that. So I don't like this from Mr. Wilbon again. And so you're the person that's telling us, the regular people, that you're the only voice that needs to be heard. And I disagree. You're employing nepotism, sir. So there needs to be other voices against yours. Your 17-year-old son is not more important to me than my son or anybody else's son. So why should you be able to take your son and push him to the front of the line and push all of ours back because your kid's last name is Wilbon? And his first name is probably Michael. So he basically has your name. So you're going to use your money, your power, your clout to do to us, a black person like myself, what historically, as I just mentioned, There have been white people that have done that, and Asian people and other people. So it's not just white people, to black people, historically. So and I'm not saying that to say anything bad against white people or Asian people of any descent or anybody else. It's a societal problem. It's not just a one color problem. But you're employing that against other people who could potentially look like you, who have been disadvantaged because of it. So what are you? Where are your moral standards? What do you stand for? And, that's where things start and end with me morally. I don't make exceptions because I want to break the rules. I believe the rules should be the same for everybody. And I know they're not. I know it's not a perfect world. But especially when you're people facing and I can see you and I can see you do these things, why should I be happy that you're doing this to me? So I disagree with Wilbon there completely. He said, I'm a father first. That's how I see this story, not as a columnist or a talking head, but as a father first. So I get what LeBron did, and LeBron also has been great to my kid. Okay, so now you're in cahoots with him? What, he gave you an autograph? So now it's okay for you both to be, nepotism lords? The lords of nepotism? Because you guys are in cahoots? See, this is what I'm talking about with these guys. That's why they don't like people like me. I don't know LeBron James. He's not my friend. I don't know Mike Wilbon. He's not my friend. So you know what I can do? I can tell the truth. But where Mike Wilbon is not telling the truth is, hey, if you ever took the time, I will interview you and ask you some tough questions. I'm not afraid to face you. He seems like for some reason for him, it's like, oh, you people on the internet are not capable of facing up to tough, having to stand in somebody's face. I'm more than capable of standing in somebody's face. I've been fighting my whole life to be successful for everything. You think I'm scared to stand in front of Mike Wilbon or LeBron James's face and ask them some tough questions? I'm not. And if you've listened to my videos, I'm not disrespectful. I know how to speak properly and correctly and have tact and couth and all those things. I would employ that in the interview. But if you think for 1 second y'all relationship together where you're, supposed to be these elite people in cahoots with nepotism, nah, I'm going to ask you real questions about it. Real questions that they don't actually want to answer, by the way, which is why any of these people, including Mr. Wilbon, you have to take all of them with a grain of salt. They're rich. They're wealthy. They think they're above you. He's already said it a few times in this interview. So he thinks he gets to make the rules. LeBron thinks he gets to make the rules. What we need to do is remind them that you don't make the rules. You still have standards that you should be living by. Just because you're rich doesn't mean that we just let that go. There's more of us than there are of these people. Their money doesn't make them 27 million times bigger than us. So, continuing, but as far as coverage, no. There were shows that talked about Bronny every day. You know what shows I'm talking about. I don't care if my bosses get mad. They would try to get Tony and me to talk about it. No, we were not going to do that. Listen, man, if you think for 1 minute LeBron James doesn't have Paul at ESPN and gets them to talk about his kid, you're crazy. He definitely does. So Mike Wilbon, there's no way he doesn't know that. I don't know what's happening here. LeBron definitely has pull of trying to get his kid talked about. Rich Paul, Maverick Carter, all of them. You can't blame the talking heads on ESPN for talking about the kid when LeBron and his team won't stop talking about the kid. LeBron told us he was better than a lot of NBA players. That was a lie. Turned out to be false. I'm not surprised because it came from LeBron. So how in the world is it that you're going to blame all them for talking about him constantly and not blame LeBron James for also pushing his son? There's so many stupid narratives, the 55th pick, and why are you guys talking about him? Why are you talking about him? These LeBron zealots be the first people to post on whatever they can find. Oh, Bronny had 39 points. He had 17 points in a blowout loss in a game that that they forfeit immediately because none of the starters played. So they knew they were going to lose by 30. But Bronny's so good because he had 17 in that game. Come on, man. And again, I'm not sitting here. My beef is not with Bronny. If he becomes something, he becomes something. I'm not rooting against him. I'm also not really rooting for him because I don't like how he got in. But I'm not rooting against him. I don't hate the man. I don't want to see bad things happen to him. But at the same time, I'll be darned if I sit back and let people like Mike Wilbon, who's supposedly so neutral and so against what he sees right now, you're still going along to get along, Mr. Wilbon. You fail to realize that LeBron James is just as much a part of this as your coworkers. He's just as involved in Bronny being a big deal. So cut that out. And let's move on because we're at the last part here. He asked the next question. There was a story somewhere about how ESPN and FS1 covered Bronny more this season than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the front runner for MVP. Excuse me. Wilbon says, that's right. I didn't even think about that. It's true. They talked about him more than SGA. That's pandering. It's all pandering. Let me be clear. Our business is a piece of crap a lot of days. There is nobody enforcing standards or having tough conversations. This is what happens when you no longer have functioning newsrooms because everyone is working from hotel rooms, from their bedrooms, and maybe even from their beds. People are not in newsrooms anymore or a studio where you can call them out on their nonsense. That's a problem. Instead, they're a bunch of 20-year-olds pitching stories while spending all day on social media and reinforcing each other's nonsense. It's 100% pandering, and I hate it. You know this, Bobby. You see it. But again, I was not critical of LeBron as a dad at all. I feel differently about this than most. I get it. However, Tony, and I didn't need to talk about it publicly. Tony understands it too. His son, Michael, works for him. But we aren't talking about Bronny every day. Heck no. This isn't about Stephen A. It's about the entire industry. That's what I want to remind LeBron. Our business is just crap some days. It just is. And then the next question, Burak Michael, or it's a statement. Michael, I appreciate your candor and insight. Our readers will appreciate it too. Wilbon says, Bobby, thank you for reaching out and showing curiosity. We need more of that. So, I mean, this last part here where he said, that's what I want to remind LeBron. Remind him of what? remind him of what? He's been using you guys the entire time to push narratives for him. That's why he's so cocky now, Mr. Wilbon. That's why he felt comfortable saying what he said about your quote-unquote friend, Brian Windhorse. You're not going to remind him of anything. What are you thinking? My goodness. What's wrong? This is a man that I have respect for, but I also don't understand. Am I in a twilight zone? What are you going to remind LeBron of? He never cared about anybody other than himself. He doesn't give a dang about what you have to say, Mike Wilbon. That's why he's moving the way he moves and saying the things he says. You think he considered you before he went on the Pat McAfee show? You thought he considered how this would affect Mr. Wilbon? No, he doesn't care. He doesn't give a darn. I don't understand what he's saying here. I just don't get it. You want to remind him that some days it's just people behind the... He knows that. That's what made him more popular. Social media. I don't know how you don't know this. A lot of LeBron James's fame is because of weirdos on social media hyping up every single thing he does and now what Bronny does. These are the same people that will say all kinds of crazy, disgusting things. They've made songs about LeBron that are actually pretty good. No Diddy. Praising him. They make outrageous excuses, like all of you do, Mr. Wilbon, for every mistake he makes. You guys never call him out when he does stuff he's not supposed to be doing. He literally just came out and lied on AD. Told him that he didn't get him traded, and we just saw evidence that he did. I did a video on it. So when are you going to talk about that, Mr. Wilbon? You keep giving him all these benefits of the doubt. You think LeBron James doesn't know what he's doing? You think he doesn't know everything that you just said? Rich Paul and Mav Carter are smarter than these people, than these news people. LeBron is smarter than these people, truthfully, because they just can't stop kissing his butt. They just can't do it. And they've created this monster. I have respect for Mr. Wilbon, but he's a part of the problem. Listening to this, well, reading this, he's part of the problem. LeBron James owns a lot of these people. He owns parts of ESPN. He messed up the balance of sports. We don't talk about SGA, and all we do is talk about his son, because LeBron did this. He put his son in this position to make it so that that's all we talk about, Mr. Wilbon. Did you forget that? LeBron James forces himself to the front of everything. He has to be at the center of it, or he's not going to do it. That's why he wasn't at Kobe Bryant's statue ceremony. That's why he wasn't at Kobe Bryant's memorial. That's probably why he didn't show up to Dwayne Wade's thing. Maybe they had a little bit of a beef, or they were upset with each other a little bit. And he said, you know what? It's about me more than it's about Wade. Somebody please comment and tell me when LeBron's done something that wasn't going to benefit LeBron. And Mr. Wilbon's telling you how great he's been and how much he's done. Stop it. So this was longer than I expected it to be. A whole 41 minutes. My goodness. That's where we're at. But you know how I am, guys. If you're going to, subscribe to this channel, there's going to be some things I try to do that's shorter and lighter, obviously. But there's also going to be some things where, it just takes time. You got to use your brain, man. Don't be like these people out here that are just mindlessly consuming things. Look for the people that actually explain themselves, that can break things down. Because, you have to really think about these things. A lot of people talk. But are you actually dissecting their words? Are you paying attention to exactly what they're saying? That's what you need to be doing. Otherwise, a lot of things are going to go by you. They're going to go right over the top of your head, and you're going to be in the twilight zone. I don't let things go over my head. Everything you say, I'm breaking it down. I'm trying to figure it out. So I admonish you guys. I challenge you to do the same. Do the same thing to me. Call me out if you think I'm off. If I'm off, comment. I'll respond to as many as I can. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you that are listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share it with other people that that think more deeply about things and want more real breakdown. Besides just a 2-second sob fest over something. So I thank you very much. I'm very humble. Also, please wait a little bit longer when the video is coming to an end, because there's some other videos and suggestions that will pop up that you might be interested in. Thank you very much for your time. I'm very humble. Much love. That somehow you never get over leaving